The Ferrari 288 GTO. In 1984, the fastest production car in the world was decided largely by what Ferrari told you it was. There was no governing body for the title, no standardized test procedure, no independent verification requirement. Ferrari built the 288 GTO around a 2.85-liter twin-turbocharged V8 producing 400 horsepower and announced a top speed of 189 miles per hour. The figure was not publicly challenged. The 288 GTO had been designed for Group B rally racing, a category so extreme that the FIA abolished it 2 years later, following a sequence of fatal accidents on public stages. The racing program the car was built to contest never happened. What remained was 272 road cars, a number Ferrari had printed in brochures, and no manufacturer willing to arrive with contradicting data. Whether the 189 miles per hour figure was ever achieved under controlled conditions is a question that was never formally answered. For 3 years, nobody asked it loudly enough to matter. The record, such as it was, belonged to whoever Ferrari said it did. The Porsche 959. Sequential twin turbocharging, a computer-managed four-wheel drive system distributing torque between axles in real time, hollow-spoke magnesium wheels, tire pressure monitoring displayed inside the cabin while driving. None of these technologies had appeared in combination in any production vehicle before the 959. Several had not appeared individually. The 2.85-liter flat-six produced 444 horsepower, and in 1986, Porsche recorded a verified top speed of 197 miles per hour at Weissach. Ferrari's unchallenged 189 was erased. What made the 959's record more significant than the number was what the number implied, that Germany had answered Italy's decade of dominance not by building a more powerful engine, but by building a more intelligent car. The record lasted 11 months. In that time, every other manufacturer re-examined what the word production was prepared to mean, because the 959 had stretched it further than anyone had attempted before.
The Ferrari F40. Before 1987, no production car had been independently verified above 200 miles per hour. The barrier had psychological weight that a pure engineering figure rarely carries. 200 was a line, and crossing it required something qualitatively different from every car that had come before. Ferrari crossed it with an approach that went in the opposite direction from Porsche's. No radio, no carpets, door handles on the inside replaced by a loop of cable. Everything that added weight without adding speed was removed. The twin-turbocharged 2.9-liter V8 produced 478 horsepower in a car weighing 1,100 kilograms, and the tested top speed reached 201 miles per hour. 3 months after the F40 launched, Enzo Ferrari died. He had approved 47 cars over 4 decades. The last one carried his name on the tailgate. He never knew it would hold the world record for 5 years, or that Lamborghini, Jaguar, and Porsche would each fail to beat it by 1992. The Jaguar XJ220. The car buyers had put deposits on in 1988 and the car delivered to them in 1992 were different vehicles. Contracts had been signed on the basis of a concept featuring a V12 engine and four-wheel drive. Production reality produced a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 and rear-wheel drive only. Legal action followed. The market had collapsed. Buyers sought to exit agreements Jaguar refused to release them from. In the middle of this, a test driver took the XJ220 to the Nardo circular track in Italy and recorded 212.3 miles per hour, the highest independently verified figure any production car had reached. The litigation continued around it. The cancelled V12 continued to be the subject of public anger. None of that changed what had happened on the track. The speed stood entirely on its own, detached from the controversy it was surrounded by, belonging to a car whose buyers would rather not have owned it.
The McLaren F1. The date was March 31st, 1998. The location was Volkswagen's test track at Arlesian in Lower Saxony. Gordon Murray had designed the F1 as a road car. McLaren had no commercial reason to pursue a speed record and no motorsport program built around the attempt. The exercise happened because the question kept being asked. Test driver Andy Wallace removed the rev limiter, left everything else standard, and completed multiple timed runs on the long straight. The recorded speed was 240.1 miles per hour. The gap between that number and the previous record was 27.8 miles per hour, a margin wider than the difference between the F40 and every car that had come before it. Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini, and Jaguar spent the following 12 years building cars that went faster than everything except the one that had been measured in Germany in 1998. The record stood until 2005. 7 years into that wait, no production car had come within 20 miles per hour of it. The Koenigsegg CCR. Christian von Koenigsegg ran a company of 47 people in a converted Swedish Air Force hangar when he took the CCR to the Nardo Ring in February 2005. The supercharged 4.7-liter V8 produced 806 horsepower. On the banked circuit in southern Italy, the car recorded 241.63 miles per hour. The margin over the McLaren F1 that had stood since 1998 was exactly 1.53 miles per hour. A manufacturer small enough that its entire workforce could assemble in a school hall had beaten the record that the entire resources of the automotive industry had failed to touch for 7 years, by a gap that a quick bicycle could close in less than 2 seconds. The automotive press acknowledged it and immediately moved on to discussing the Bugatti Veyron, which was at that moment completing its own preparation at Arlesian. The CCR's name appeared in the record books for 28 days. Bugatti did not just take the title back, it made the CCR's number look like a rounding error. The Bugatti Veyron 16.4. Volkswagen Group spent approximately 1.3 billion euros developing the Veyron. Each car sold for approximately 1 million euros. By any straightforward accounting, Bugatti lost money on every transaction they completed. The quad-turbocharged 8-liter W16 produced 1,001 horsepower, a figure chosen specifically because it exceeded 1,000. In the same way, a retail price ending in 99 is chosen to sit below the round number. At Arlesian in April 2005, the Veyron reached 253.81 miles per hour. The CCR's 28-day record was gone. The gap between the CCR's figure and the Veyron's was 12 miles per hour, larger than the gap between the CCR and everything it had beaten. What changed was not just the number, but the scale of resource required to challenge it. Before the Veyron, the production car speed record was something manufacturers reached for with engineering. After it, the record belonged to whichever automotive group could afford to lose money on a billion-euro engineering program.
The SSC Ultimate Aero, a section of State Route 160 in Washington State, was closed for the morning of September 13, 2007. The car that used the closed road belonged to a company called Shelby Supercars, based in Richland, Washington, with fewer than 30 employees. The twin-turbocharged 6.35-liter V8 produced 1,183 horsepower. 2 runs were completed in opposite directions to neutralize wind advantage. The averaged result was 256.18 miles per hour. A Guinness representative was present, reviewed the timing data, and confirmed the result. The car from the company that most of the automotive press could not have located on a map had beaten the car that Volkswagen Group had built at a cost of 1.3 billion euros by 2.37 miles per hour. There was no corporate infrastructure behind SSC. There was no global manufacturing network. There was a workshop in Washington State and a twin-turbocharged
turbocharged engine and a number that Bugatti's entire organization had not managed to protect. The record left Europe for 3 years. The Bugatti Veyron Supersport. The argument began before the car finished its runs. On July 4, 2010, at Aero, the Veyron Supersport's 8.0-liter W16 in 1,200 horsepower specification recorded 267.856 miles per hour. A Guinness representative was present, reviewed the timing data, and confirmed the result. Guinness confirmed the result and listed it as the new production car record. Then the review began. The production Veyron Supersport delivered to customers had its top speed electronically limited to 258 miles per hour, a restriction Bugatti imposed to manage tire integrity at sustained extreme speeds. The record attempt had been completed with that limiter removed. In 2013, Guinness withdrew the record from the official list on the basis that the version available to buyers could not replicate the speed the unconstrained test car had achieved. Bugatti challenged the decision. The record was reinstated with an explanatory note attached. Whether the car in a private garage could do what the car at Aero had done was a question that never received a clean answer. The number stayed in the books. So did the note.
The Koenigsegg Agera RS. Christian von Koenigsegg had been trying to hold the production car speed record since the CCR took it for 28 days in 2005. 12 years later, on November 4, 2017, the Agera RS was positioned on a closed section of Nevada State Route 160. The twin-turbocharged 5.0-liter V8 produced 1,360 horsepower. 2 timed runs in opposite directions. Independent timing equipment operated by an external organization. The averaged result was 277.87 miles per hour. Bugatti's disputed 267.856 was gone by more than 10 miles per hour. What separated this attempt from nearly every previous record was the level of independent verification surrounding it. External timing equipment, a closed public road, opposite direction runs averaging out atmospheric advantage. Koenigsegg had waited 12 years and then produced the most rigorously documented production car speed record that had ever been set. What had been argued about, disputed, and asterisked in every previous record attempt was simply absent here. The number was clean. The SSC Tuatara. The video was released in October 2020, carrying a claimed speed of 331.15 miles per hour on a Nevada highway. For approximately 72 hours, SSC held what would have been the most extraordinary production car speed achievement in history. Then the analysis started. Viewers with access to frame rate calculation tools began cross-referencing the elapsed time between visible mile markers against the claimed average. The numbers did not reconcile. Engineers published frame-by-frame breakdowns. GPS data shown on screen was inconsistent with 331 miles per hour. Within a week, SSC retracted the claim, attributing the discrepancy to data recording errors. A second attempt followed on January 17, 2021. Independent timing equipment, external verification, 2 runs. The averaged result was 282.9 miles per hour, a genuine figure that exceeded the Agera RS record by more than 5 miles per hour. The second number was real. The problem was that the first number had already changed how every person watching decided to treat everything SSC said. The record existed. The audience that might have celebrated it had already left. The Bugatti Chiron Supersport 300 Plus. On August 2, 2019, at Volkswagen's Agera track, the speedometer display inside a car that shared its name with a production vehicle passed 300 miles per hour for the first time. The driver was Andy Wallace, the same Andy Wallace who had taken the McLaren F1 to 240.1 miles per hour in 1998. The quad-turbocharged 8.0-liter W16 in the Chiron Supersport 300 Plus configuration produced 1,000
1,600 horsepower. The recorded peak speed was 304.773 miles per hour. Bugatti chose not to submit the result to Guinness World Records as an official production car entry because the car used was a pre-production prototype with a modified rear aerodynamic package not present on the cars sold to customers. The production Chiron Supersport 300 Plus is electronically limited to 273 miles per hour. The fastest speed ever achieved in what presented itself as a production vehicle was set by a car its own manufacturer decided did not fully qualify. 35 years after the Ferrari 288 GTO announced 189 miles per hour and dared anyone to measure it, the question of what the record actually meant had become more complicated than the speed.